special day is upon us as, once again, one of actually the only altcoins that I've been following for the last 3 to 4 years now is giving a signal that has actually never been seen before and does imply some quite interesting price action. With that in mind, welcome back to EllioTrades channel. I'm your host Krown again today with some good old morning TA, and today we are going to be focusing on Chainlink. Now, I want to address a few things. First and foremost, I think at the end of these videos, what I'll start doing is very short-term time frame analysis on Bitcoin, as I do want to stay up to date on that. There's obviously many important things to be aware of there. I also do want to say massive thank you for all the support on this channel. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you for liking the videos. Thank you for just watching to begin with. And thank you for also coming on to my channel as well, of which I can let you know that we also do a much more in-depth analysis on Bitcoin, which may or may not be relevant to you. Anyways, with that said, what is the chart of the day? What is the big information? What is the thing that I'm looking to the most? And that is one of my favorite indicators right here on a very high term time frame, that being my volatility indicator, the BBWP, the Bollinger Band Width Percentile. Again, volatility being the dispersion of returns essentially does imply that in layman terms, when this is very contracted, as you can see right here, we are at about a 1.5 percentile read, which is quite contracted, even the most that we've actually seen in Link's history. It does imply that the resolution will be 1, relatively soon, and 2, very, very, very powerful. Of course, volatility is a direction neutral indicator, but within the current context of the market, and as we'll discover as we go along here, there will be ways to, well, get a bit of a bias on direction here. So I wanted to point this out first and foremost. We have never seen it this low before, ever, and that does imply that we can look for perhaps one of the biggest resolutions from this ever as well. Now, again, I want to address something that I've been seeing in the comments, which I totally understand. We've been talking about some pretty, moon boy-ish targets on this channel, which is all well and good. It's the YouTube game, and I'm sure that we'll have, another one for this video as well. But please understand that when we're talking about that sort of a thing, there are conditions to be set ahead of those events, and obviously, they're not happening anytime soon. And in that case, that's also why we go over more short-term time frame analysis here as well, of which this one is giving quite the signals. So with that in mind, what is the most important thing that is coming up next? Well, of course, going over here to the daily, it has to be this. As I throw on my drawing tools, 1, 2, 3, 4, count them, higher lows, love it. Same highs right here. We have a reaccumulation formation. You might even call this an ascending triangle, and that does have a short-term technical target actually to the upside, as we actually have already resolved this one, which would imply a technical target of about $40. Now, with that in mind, $40 is a more short-term relative to this time frame being a daily target, and probably looking at that over the next, I don't know, maybe week, maybe 10 days to come or so. There comes an invalidation point with that as well. Obviously, as long as Link is closing dailies, candlesticks, above $30.50, this is all well and good. And of course, we do expect that Link, if Bitcoin does pull back, will likely pull back with it. But again, as long as that area is not violated on specifically a daily closure, I'm looking for this one to lift up onwards and upwards as I reference my notes over here. Okay, a couple other major things. Now, I'm going to go back to the 5-day chart over here once again, and we have something else that I don't believe, we've actually never seen it this perfect in Link's history. And what do we have? The 5-day jewel. So this is one of the momentum oscillators that I actually had a hand in creating, and it is giving off one of the best signals in this asset that, we've actually seen in its history. A pretty prized history as well. In fact, I want to take a second to talk about this because Link deserves a lot of respect. Now, I typically don't watch altcoins on my own. I don't hold any or anything like that. Not to say that, it's not a wise idea. I mean, obviously this one's very good. But what stands out about this chart amongst many other charts that were around in 2017 and 2018 specifically, that this one was going up throughout pretty much the whole time while the rest of the market was sideways and down. It's no secret that Bitcoin was essentially playing out the macro range throughout that time frame, and Link was just charging upwards and onwards. Most things in this market, 99% of things, were not doing that. So this one does essentially speak volumes in the way that I look at it. Okay, what else do we have next? Yes, and what do we have right here? We have on the daily BBWP. Let me just pull up my chart right here. as I do want to give a little bit more of an insight as to what we're likely looking for on this resolution. So once again, I have marked off with the vertical bars the upside resolutions that we have seen when daily, specifically daily BBWP, just read that as volatility, was very low. And let's measure out a few of the prior iterations and see if we can come up with a rhyme or reason as to what we've seen in the past. So the past one was coming in from this low over here towards an almost immediate move over the next 3 weeks, it looks like, about 66.25%. Not bad. Only in crypto. What do we have over here? Whoops. What do we have over here from March lows after this consolidation? Well, a lovely almost immediate move over the next 4 weeks of 75.5%. And then, of course, your parabolic blow off all the way up to 110%. And this was just a continuous uptrend, that taking about just under 2 months, it looks like. Do we have any more iterations to be looking at? Yes, indeed, we do. I think we have one more, maybe two more. Yes, we do. And this one coming in after a nice sideways, prolonged sideways consolidation in May of 2020. And Link goes up over the next 100 days. 500%. 500%. Wow. Jesus Christ. Sorry. And of course, we have one other good example before that, that being in March of 2019. And this one, a phenomenal gainer as well. Actually, this one also 100 days. And I'm not comfortable with saying that number, but you can read it on your screen and it has 4 digits. Again, I don't want to promote too much hopium if it's not supported by data, but that is quite literally data right there. Okay, so with that in mind, let's just play around with numbers here and see if it will match up with any of the Fibonacci extension targets based off of this current consolidation base, of which I do look at this in the medium term as resolved on the daily, actually. And let's just, well, first we got to do this. Let's see where we might just find ourselves. Off of, well, on the lowest end, we saw what, I think it was like 60% gainer. Well, that would put it somewhere around about $40. That was the short-term technical target. And if we were looking at some of the more interesting ones, 100% puts it around the prior all-time highs in between the 1414, actually right around the 1414 at about $49 or so. Pretty good right there. On the upper end, we've obviously seen some very impressive results as well. I'm not saying that this is implied, but let's just come up with a nice clickbait title here together. And let's see what 500% looks like on this baby. 450% actually puts us at the 2.618 Fibonacci extension. That I actually do believe is a rather relevant target long term. So we're talking a few months, we're probably talking a couple months down the road if it's going to happen at about 120. And of course, I would expect, prolonged consolidation between the mid 50s and upper 40s before that. So we'll obviously come back to this chart if and when that does become relevant. And then very long term, do we do the 1,000% gainer that we've seen in the past as well? Well, to be fair, it might be relevant for the simple reason that the 5-day BBWP has never been this low ever. So we should be looking for theoretically one of the best results ever as well. And where does that put this baby? Actually, right at the 3.618, a common sort of top-ish target in these parabolic blow-off top markets, which we might be entering into around the end of year or early in 2022. And that would be at $250, by the way. So there's your clickbait title for the day. Invalidation, of course, on the daily, as we already spoke about, is going to be with a daily closure. Let's actually just make it below $30. If that were to happen, I would first look for a correction down to about $27.50 and then come back to it after that. And I did forget one last thing, actually. We forgot to talk about the Bollinger Bands over here. Now, Bollinger Bands are a volatility-based indicator, and the way that I look at them is that when price action is closing above one side, in this case the upside, it does imply that volatility expansion comes with trend continuation in that direction. And of course, right here we do have an uptrend. So what does that essentially imply? As long as we are closing above the topside Bollinger Band, which is currently 3192.5 on a daily closure, I'm looking for volatility expansion with, well, the next sort of upside targets to get hit, essentially. And I look at it as trend in motion as long as that condition is met specifically. Okay, we are 9 hours, we're 9 minutes and 30 seconds into this video. Feeling pretty damn good about that. Should we just do a quick perusal of Bitcoin over here? Oh, forgot to mention this as well. By the way, weekly Stokes freshly turning up above $28.50 here. Fresh cross, that is. And anytime that we've kind of gone into this region, it does, I imagine it is going to be generally good. This is officially now the bullish control zone. So let me just mark off a few and let's just see where these have kind of come out in the totality of time. Oh, what do you know? This baby right here getting a 500% move over the next 100 days. And this baby over here getting about 300% move almost in 126 days. Should we do a quick perusal of Bitcoin? Perhaps yes. What would I want to be aware of on Bitcoin? Again, on Bitcoin, I am long-term bullish. Obviously, I'm not going to be bearish on a monthly chart that looks like this, but on a daily, could we afford a pullback? Perhaps below $60,000? Potentially, yes. So I do look at this as still a range at the highs, which is good, but I would say that if Bitcoin does start to close 4-hour candlesticks below this 60,600 pivot, or just call it 60,000 even if you want to be super conservative here, which I think is actually wise, then I would be looking for Bitcoin to work its way down at minimum to 57.5 and then probably does find its next higher low at $55,000. Because remember, we have not seen the higher low on Bitcoin just yet. It has been a straight march up since $40,000. So at some point, very likely we'll do that. That will be, in my opinion, the next big opportunity. Question is it happening right here or do we go a little bit lower first? I am neutral to that. However, understand that if Bitcoin does break that $60,000 level, then we can expect that Link will very likely pull back. And at that point, we need to be aware that if it does start to close dailies below, again, $30 even, we'll call it, then I would no longer be entertaining immediate continuation. I'd be looking for a consolidation lower first and then come back to it later. All right, I think we got through everything right there. Of course, should talk about Bybit as well. Elliot's got a nice deal on Bybit. They're also giving out to, I think, 10 people who sign up 1,000 or at least worth $1,000 of their BitDao token. Whatever that is, to be honest, I'm not so sure. But you know what? Sounds like free money, I suppose. And then obviously they have a deposit bonus as well. I do have to say my piece on this. Understand that if you're new to trading, it's very unwise to leverage trade. Please learn via a testnet account. Do not put up any sort of real finances against, while you're in the learning phase. And actually, I am in the process of creating a TA 101 playlist for this here channel. So hopefully I can help out with that. But again, understand that this is really for people who already have, some skills and they kind of know what they're doing. As well, you can just essentially take advantage of that deposit bonus. And if you're not, again, no rush. There's, trading's not going away. So with that in mind, I'm going to leave you right there. I'll be back on tomorrow. And with that said, take care.